Good day, everyone. I am Chris Irma Plaza, and today we are on Chapter 10 Aggression. So, what exactly is aggression? Aggression is defined as a verbal or physical behavior intended to cause harm. Aggression manifests itself in two forms. There's hostile aggression, which is driven by anger and performance as an end in itself, also called as affective aggression. It springs from emotions such as anger. Next is instrumental aggression, which aims to injure as a means to some other end. Example: wars, sexual coercion, or other violent acts or retribution. There are three broad theories of aggression. The instinct view, commonly associated with Sigmund Freud and Konrad Lorenz, contended that aggression energy will accumulate from within like water accumulating behind the dam. Although available evidence offers little support for the view, aggression is biologically influenced by heredity, blood chemistry, and the brain. So let's proceed to the first phenomenon. Aggression as a biological phenomenon. So first is the neural influence. The frontal lobe in our brain can inhibit aggression. People with damaged frontal lobe often have difficulty controlling their aggressive behaviors. Next is genetic influence, which heredity influences the neural system's sensitivity to aggressive cues. It has long been known that animals can be bred for aggressiveness. Third is biological influence. Blood chemistry also influences neural sensitivity to aggressive stimulation, such as alcohol, testosterone, low serotonin, and biology and behavior interact. Next is aggression as a response to frustration. Frustration theory aggression is the theory that frustration triggers a readiness to aggress. Frustration is a blocking of a goal-directed behavior. Displacement is the redirection of aggression to our target other than the source of the frustration. Generally, the new target is a safer or more socially acceptable target. According to the second view, frustration causes anger and hostility. Given aggression cues, the anger may provoke aggression. Frustration stems not from deprivation itself, but from the gap between expectations and achievement. Third and last is aggression as a learned social behavior. Theories of aggression based on instinct and frustration assumes that hostile urges erupt from inner emotions, which naturally push aggression from within. Social psychologists contend that learning also pulls aggression out of us. Social learning theory: the theory that we learn social behavior by observing and imitating by rewarded and punished. These are based on and learned from family and culture. The social learning view presents aggression as learned behavior. By experience, by observing others' success, we sometimes learn that aggression pays. Social learning enables family and subcultural influence on aggression, as well as media influences, which will be discussed by the next reporter.
Is about what are some influences on aggression. So, aversive incidents is the recipient for aggression often includes some type of aversive experience, pain, uncomfortable heat, an attack, or overcrowding. Pain heightens aggressiveness in humans too. Many of us can recall such a reaction after stabbing a toe or suffering a headache. The researchers also varied the source of pain. They found that not just shocks induce attack, intense heat, and psychological pain. For example, suddenly not rewarding hungry pigeons that have been trained to expect a grain reward after pecking a disc brought the, the same reaction as shocks. This psychological pain is, of course, frustration. Heat. Temporary climate variations can, however, affect behavior. Yes, because climate remains relatively steady while cultural traits change over time. The climate theory of culture obviously has limited validity. Offensive odors, cigarette smoke, and air pollution have all been linked with aggressive behavior. Attack. Being attacked or insulted by another is especially conducive to aggression. Next is arousal. A frustrating, hot, or insulting situation heightens arousal when it does the arousal combined with hostile thoughts and feelings may form a recipe for aggressive behavior. Next is aggression cues. Elements of hostile aggression. An aggressive situation can trigger aggression by provoking hostile cognitions, hostile feelings, and arousal. These reactions make us more likely to perceive harmful intent and to react aggressively. Media influences pornography and sexual violence. Social psychologists report that viewing such fictional scenes of a man overpowering and arousing a woman can distort one's perceptions of how women actually respond to sexual coercion, and b. increase men's aggression against women. Distorted perceptions of sexual reality. Pornography that portrays sexual aggression as pleasurable for the victim increases the acceptance of the use of coercion in sexual relations. Social science consensus at Surgeon General's workshop on pornography and public health. When surveyed by a different experimenter, those who saw the films with mild sexual violence were more accepting of violence against women. Aggression against women. Correlational studies evidence also suggests that pornography contributes to men's actual aggression toward women. Kingston and others 2009. Experimental studies exposure to violent pornography increases punitive behavior toward women. Co-op 1987. So, media awareness education. What we're trying to do is raise the level of awareness of violence against women and pornography to at least the level of awareness of racist and Ku Klux Klan literature. Gloria Steinem, 1988. Yes, because not all women enjoy being coerced. That's the end of my report.
Chapter 10 Aggression, Hurting Others, Media Influence, Television, Video Games. How can aggression be reduced? Media influence television. Do viewers imitate violent models? In one survey of 208 prison convicts, 9 of 10 admitted learning new criminal tricks by watching crime programs. 4 out of 10 said they had attempted specific crimes seen on television. It is according to TV Guide 1977. Crime stories are not scientific evidence. Researchers therefore use correlational and experimental studies to examine the effects of viewing violence. One technique, commonly used with school children, correlates their TV watching with their aggressiveness. As for the result, the more violent the content of the child's TV viewing, the more aggressive the child. Another fact to ponder, where television goes, increased violence follows. Even murder rates increase when where and where television comes. In Canada and United States, the homicide rate doubled between 1957 and 1974 as violent television spread. Can we conclude, then, that a diet of violent TV fuels aggression? Perhaps you are already thinking that because this is a correlational study, the cause and effect relation could also work in the opposite direction. Maybe aggressive children prefer aggressive programs, or maybe some underlying third factor, such as lower intelligence, predisposes some children to prefer both aggressive programs and aggressive behavior. Follow up studies have confirmed these findings in various ways, including this. Why does TV viewing affect behavior? The arousal it produces. That viewing violence increases violence. Viewing violence disinhibits. Viewing violence primes the viewer for aggressive behavior by activating violence-related thoughts. Listening to music with sexually violent lyrics seems to have a similar effect, and it is according to some studies. Media portrayals also evoke imitation. The commercial television industry is hard-pressed to dispute that television leads viewers to imitate what they have seen. Its advertisers model consumption. But there is good news here too. If the ways of relating and problem solving modeled on television do trigger imitation, especially among young viewers, then TV modeling of pro-social behavior should be socially beneficial. What is pro-social behavior? It is about being positive, constructive, helpful social behavior, the opposite of antisocial behavior. We have focused on television's effect on behavior, but the researchers have also examined the cognitive effects of viewing violence. Does prolonged viewing sensitize us to cruelty? Does it give us mental scripts for how to act? Does it distort our perceptions of reality? Does it prime aggressive thoughts? Desensitization repeat an emotion arousing stimulus, such as an absent word, over and over. What happens? The emotional response will extinguish. After witnessing thousands of acts of cruelty, there is good reason to expect a similar emotional numbing. When we find ourselves in new situations, uncertain how to act, we rely on social scripts, culturally provided mental instructions for how to act. Cognitive priming. New evidence also reveals that watching violent videos primes networks of aggressive related ideas. Perhaps television's biggest effect relates not to its quality but to its quantity. Compared with more active recreation, TV watching sucks people's energy and dampens their moods. Moreover, TV annually replaces in people's lives 1,000 or more hours of other activities. Television steals time for club meetings, volunteering, congregational activities, and political engagement. Video games. as one of the media influence. In one survey, fourth graders, 59% of girls and 73% of boys reported their favorite games as violent ones. Games rated M or for mature are supposedly intended for sale only to those 17 and older, but often are marketed to those younger. The Federal Trade Commission found that in 4 out of 5 attempts, underage children could easily purchase them, according to Pereira 2003. Effects of the games kids play. Gentle and Anderson nevertheless offer some reasons why violent game playing might have a more toxic effect than watching violent television. With game playing, players identify with and play the role of a violent character, actively rehearse violence, not just passively watch it, engage in the whole sequence of enacting violence, selecting victims, acquiring weapons and ammunition, stalking the victim, aiming the weapon, pulling the trigger, are engaged in continual violence and threats of attack, repeat violent behaviors over and over, and are rewarded for effective aggression. Playing violent video games more than playing non-violent games increases arousal, increases aggressive thinking, increases aggressive feelings, increases aggressive behaviors, decreases pro-social behaviors. Moreover, the more violent the games played, the bigger the effects. The bloodier the game, the greater the gamer's after-game hostility and arousal. Video games have become more violent, which helps explain why newer studies find the biggest effects. As a concerned scientist, Anderson 2003-2004 therefore encourages parents to discover what their kids are ingesting and to ensure that their media diet, at least in their own home, is healthy. Is healthy. Parents may not be able to control what their child watches, plays, and eats in someone else's home, nor can they control the media's effect on their children's peer culture, but parents can oversee consumption in their own home and provide increased time for alternative activities. Networking with other parents can build a kid-friendly neighborhood, and schools can help by providing media awareness education. Down to our last topic, how can aggression be reduced? We have examined instinct, frustration, aggression, and social learning theories of aggression, and we have scrutinized biological and social influence on aggression. How, then, can we reduce aggression? Do theory and research suggest ways to control aggression? The concept of catharsis is usually credited to Aristotle. Although Aristotle actually said nothing about aggression, he did argue that we can purge emotions by experiencing them and that viewing the classic tragedies therefore enabled a catharsis of pity and fear. To have an emotion excited, he believed, is to have that emotion released. The catharsis hypothesis has been extended to include the emotional release supposedly obtained not only by observing drama but also through our recalling and reliving past events, through our expressing emotions and through our actions. Some psychologists, believing that catharsis is therapeutic, advise parents to encourage children's release of emotional tension through aggressive play. Retaliation may, in the short run, reduce tension and even provide pleasure, but in the long run, it fuels more negative feelings. When people who have been provoked hit a punching bag, even when they believe it will be cathartic, the effect is the opposite, leading them to exhibit more cruelty. Fortunately, there are non-aggressive ways to express our feelings and to inform others how their behavior affects us. Across cultures, those who reframe accusatory, you messages, I messages, I feel angry about what you said, or I get irritated when you leave dirty dishes. Communicate their feelings in a way that better enables the other person to make a positive response. We can be assertive without being aggressive. Thus, we must prevent aggression before it happens. We must teach non aggressive conflict resolution strategies. When psychologists Sandra Jo Wilson and Mark Lipsey assembled data from 249 studies of school violence prevention programs, they found encouraging results, especially for programs focused on selected problem students. After being taught problem solving skills, emotion control strategies, and conflict resolution techniques, the typical 20% of students engaging in some violent or disruptive behavior in a typical school was reduced to 13%. Physical punishment can also have negative side effects. Punishment is aversive stimulation. It models the behavior it seeks to prevent. It is coercive. There are reasons why violent teenagers and child abusing parents so often come from homes where discipline took the form of harsh physical punishment. To foster a gentler world, we could model and reward sensitivity and cooperation from an early age, perhaps by training parents how to discipline without violence. Training programs encourage parents to reinforce desirable behaviors and to frame statements positively. For example, when you finish cleaning your room, you can go play, rather than if you don't clean your room, you're grounded. One aggression replacement program has reduced rates of juvenile offenders and gang members by teaching the youths and their parents communication skills, training them to control anger, and raising their level of moral reasoning. To sum up, how can aggression be reduced? Contrary to the catharsis hypothesis, expressing aggression by catharsis tend to breed further aggression, not to reduce it. The social learning approach suggests controlling aggression by counteracting the factors that provoke it, by reducing aversive stimulation, by rewarding and modeling non aggression, and by eliciting reactions incompatible with aggression. Thank you and stay safe and healthy.